The train whistle screamed, slicing through the chaos of Penn Station like a blade through Ethan Caldwell's chest. 10 years had passed since he'd walked away from her. But there she was, Mia, standing on the platform, her brown curls catching the fading sunlight. And beside her, a boy, no older than 10, with eyes so blue they mirrored Ethan's own, staring back at him like a ghost from a life he'd buried. Ethan froze, his polished leather shoes rooted to the grimy station floor. The world blurred, commuters rushing, announcements crackling, yet all he saw was Mia, older but still breathtaking, and the boy who could have been his shadow. His heart pounded, a decade's worth of regret crashing over him like a tidal wave. He'd left her in Chicago, chasing a dream of wealth and power, convinced love was a luxury he couldn't afford. Now, at 35, a tech millionaire with a penthouse overlooking Manhattan, he had everything except her. Mia hadn't noticed him yet. She was fussing over the boy, adjusting his scarf, her hands gentle but trembling. Ethan's mind raced. Who was this kid? Why did he look so much like the man Ethan saw in the mirror every morning? The questions clawed at him, but fear kept him still. What right did he have to approach her after abandoning her without a word? 10 years ago, Ethan and Mia were inseparable. They'd met in a dive bar in Chicago, two 20-somethings with big dreams and bigger hearts. Mia, a painter with a laugh that could light up a room, had been his anchor. Ethan, a coder with a startup idea, had been her dreamer. They'd spent nights planning a future, her art gallery, his tech empire, a life intertwined. But when his startup got funding, Ethan made a choice. He left for Silicon Valley, promising to return. He never did. The calls stopped. The texts faded. He told himself it was for her sake. She deserved better than a man obsessed with success. Now, watching her, Ethan felt the weight of that lie. Mia's coat was frayed, her boots scuffed. She looked tired, not just from the day, but from years of something heavier. The boy Caleb, he heard her call him, tugged at her sleeve, pointing at a departing train. Mom, is that ours? Mom. The word hit Ethan like a punch. Mia was a mother. And the boy, those eyes. Ethan took a step forward, then stopped. What could he say? I'm sorry I broke your heart. Is that my son? The platform felt like a tightrope, and he was one wrong move from falling. But then Mia's eyes lifted, scanning the crowd, and locked onto his. Her face paled, lips parting as if his presence stole her breath. For a moment, time collapsed, and they were back in Chicago, young and in love, before he'd chosen ambition over her. Ethan. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 unsaid words. Caleb looked up, curious, his gaze darting between them. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to run, to hide from the mess he'd made. But those blue eyes, his eyes held him in place. I didn't expect. Ethan started, his voice rough. He cleared his throat, trying again. Mia, it's been 10 years. She finished, her tone sharp but brittle, like glass about to shatter. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same, he said, glancing at Caleb. The boy tilted his head, studying Ethan with an intensity that made his skin prickle. Ethan forced a smile. Who's this? Mia's hand tightened on Caleb's shoulder. My son, she said, her voice steady now, protective. Caleb. Ethan nodded, the name sinking into him like a stone. He couldn't finish. The resemblance was uncanny, his jawline, his eyes, even the way Caleb stood, one hand in his pocket, wary but curious. Ethan's mind spun with possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. Was Caleb his? Had Mia kept this from him? Or was this just a cruel trick of fate? I need to catch a train, Mia said, breaking the silence. She turned, guiding Caleb toward the platform edge. But her eyes lingered on Ethan, a storm of emotions swirling in the manger. Hurt, and something softer, something that scared him more. "Wait," Ethan called, stepping closer. "Can we talk? Please?" Mia hesitated, her back to him. Caleb looked up at her, then back at Ethan, his small face unreadable. "Mom," he said softly. She sighed, turning to face Ethan. "5 minutes," she said. "That's all you get." They found a quiet corner near a coffee kiosk, the hum of the station fading into the background. Caleb sat on a bench, swinging his legs, while Mia stood, arms crossed, her gaze piercing. Ethan felt like he was on trial, and maybe he was. "Why now?" Mia asked. "Why here?" "I didn't plan this," Ethan said. "I was catching a train to Boston for a meeting. I saw you, and," he gestured helplessly at Caleb. "I couldn't walk away. Not again." Mia's jaw tightened. "You were good at walking away before." The words stung, but he deserved them. "I know," he said. "I was young. Stupid. I thought I was doing the right thing." "For who?" she snapped. "You. Because it wasn't for me." Ethan winced. He glanced at Caleb, who was pretending not to listen, his eyes fixed on a passing train. "Mia, I need to know, is he?" "Don't." She cut him off, her voice low but fierce. "Don't ask that. Not yet." Her words were a wall, but they didn't stop the questions burning in his chest. He looked at Caleb again, searching for answers in his face. The boy met his gaze, unafraid, and Ethan felt a pull, a connection he couldn't explain. "I'm not the same person I was," Ethan said finally. "I've spent 10 years building something, but it's empty without you. Seeing you here, it's like a second chance." Mia laughed, a bitter sound. "A second chance? Ethan, you don't get to waltz back into my life because you're lonely. I've built a life too. For him." She nodded at Caleb, her eyes softening. "I'm not asking to waltz back," Ethan said. "I just want to understand. To make things right." Mia studied him, her expression unreadable. "You can't fix 10 years in 5 minutes," she said. "But if you want to try, you start by listening, not talking." Ethan nodded, swallowing hard. "I'm listening." She glanced at Caleb, then back at Ethan. "We're heading to Philly. I've got a job interview tomorrow. Caleb's school is there. That's my life now. What's yours?" Ethan opened his mouth, but the words caught. His life: boardrooms, private jets, a penthouse with no one to share it felt hollow under her gaze. Before he could answer, the station speaker crackled, announcing Mia's train. "We have to go," she said, taking Caleb's hand. "Let me come with you," Ethan blurted. "Just to talk. To figure this out." Mia hesitated, her eyes searching his. For a moment, he thought she'd say no. But then she nodded. "Just once. One train ride," she said. "Don't make me regret it." As they boarded the train, Caleb glanced back at Ethan, his blue eyes sharp and curious. Ethan followed, his heart racing, knowing this ride could change everything, break him all over again. The train lurched forward, and Ethan gripped the armrest, his eyes fixed on Mia across the aisle. She sat with Caleb, her hand resting protectively on his shoulder as he pressed his face to the window, watching the city blur into streaks of light. The rhythm of the train felt like a heartbeat, each thud pulling Ethan deeper into a past he'd tried to forget. He stole glances at Mia, her profile softened by the dim carriage light. She was still beautiful, but time had carved new lines around her eyes, a map of struggles he hadn't been there for. Caleb, oblivious to the tension, traced patterns on the window, his small fingers smudging the glass. Ethan's chest ached. Every feature of the boy, his sharp jaw, the way his brow furrowed in thought screamed familiarity. He wanted to ask, to demand answers. But Mia's warning echoed, "Listen, don't talk." The train car was half empty, the late hour leaving only a few tired commuters scattered across the seats. Ethan shifted, his tailored suit out of place among the worn cushions. He'd built a fortune coding algorithms that predicted human behavior. Yet he couldn't predict what Mia would say next or if she'd even speak to him again. Finally, she looked at him, her eyes guarded but curious. "You're staring," she said, her voice low to avoid waking Caleb, who'd started to doze against her shoulder. "Sorry," Ethan muttered, rubbing his neck. "It's just, you're here." "And him?" He nodded at Caleb, whose head lolled gently, his backpack clutched in his lap. Mia's lips pressed into a thin line. "Don't do that," she said. "Don't look at him like he's a puzzle to solve." "I'm not," Ethan lied, then sighed. "Okay, maybe I am. He looks so much like—" "Stop," she said sharply, glancing at Caleb to ensure he was still asleep. "You don't get to jump to conclusions. Not after 10 years of silence." Ethan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then tell me, Mia, what happened? Where have you been? Why are you going to Philly?" She studied him, as if weighing whether he deserved answers. "Life happened," she said finally. "After you left, I stayed in Chicago for a while, painting, trying to make it work. But it was hard. Then Caleb came along, and everything changed." Ethan's heart skipped. When was he born? The question slipped out before he could stop it. Mia's eyes narrowed. "You're doing it again. Asking without listening." "I'm trying," he said, frustration creeping into his voice. "But you're not making it easy. I see him, Mia, and I see me. How am I supposed to ignore that?" She looked away, her fingers tightening around Caleb's hand. "You don't get to make this about you," she said. "Not yet." The train rattled over a bridge, the city lights giving way to dark suburbs. Ethan leaned back, forcing himself to stay calm. "Okay," he said. "Tell me about your life. I'm listening." Mia hesitated, then spoke, her voice soft but steady. "I moved to Philly 5 years ago. Got a job teaching art at a community center. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Caleb's in 4th grade now. He's smart, loves drawing, like I did." "Does," she corrected herself, a flicker of pride in her eyes. "We're okay. It's just us." "Just you?" Ethan asked. "Careful now. No one else." Mia's gaze hardened. No one who matters to this conversation. The answer stung, but Ethan nodded. "And the job interview?" "An art gallery," she said. "They're looking for a curator. It's a long shot, but it could be a fresh start. For both of us." Ethan smiled faintly. "You always wanted your own gallery." Her expression softened, just for a moment. "Yeah, well, dreams change when you're raising a kid alone." The word alone hit him hard. He wanted to ask about Caleb's father, about the years he'd missed, but her walls were up, and pushing would only make them higher. Instead, he tried a different tack. "What's he like?" "Caleb." Mia's face lit up, the tension easing. "He's incredible. Curious. Stubborn. Always asking questions I don't know how to answer. He draws these wild comic superheroes. Monsters. Whole worlds. He's got this spark. You know. Like he's going to do something big someday." Ethan's throat tightened. He could hear the love in her voice. The kind of love he'd never earned. "He sounds special," he said. He is, Mia said, her eyes meeting his. And he's mine. The possessiveness in her tone wasn't lost on him. She was protecting Caleb, not just from the world, but from him. Ethan glanced at the boy, now fully asleep, his head nestled against Mia's arm. The resemblance was undeniable, but Mia's refusal to confirm or deny anything left him in limbo. I'm not here to disrupt your life, Ethan said quietly. I need to know where I stand. If there's a chance to make things right. Mia's laugh was soft, almost sad. You think you can fix this with a train ride? No, he admitted. But I want to try. For you. For him. She didn't respond, just looked out the window as the train slowed, approaching a station. The speaker crackled, announcing their stop in Philadelphia. Mia gently shook Caleb awake. Come on, buddy, she said. We're here. Caleb blinked, rubbing his eyes, then looked at Ethan. Are you coming with us? He asked, his voice sleepy but direct. Ethan's heart stopped. He looked at Mia, waiting for her to decide. She sighed, standing and slinging Caleb's backpack over her shoulder. He's got a hotel for the night, she said to Caleb, then turned to Ethan. You can walk us there. That's it. Ethan nodded, grabbing his briefcase. As they stepped onto the platform, the cool Philly air hit him, sharp and grounding. Caleb walked between them, glancing up at Ethan with those piercing blue eyes. Ethan felt a pull, a need to know this boy, to understand the life Mia had built without him. The walk to the hotel was quiet, the city's hum filling the gaps. Mia kept Caleb close, her hand never leaving his. Ethan wanted to say more, to ask everything, but he remembered her words, listen. So he did, watching the way she moved, the way Caleb mirrored her steps, the way they were a unit, complete without him. At the hotel, a modest place with flickering neon signs, Mia stopped at the entrance. This is us, she said. Good luck with your meeting. Mia, Ethan said, stepping closer. Can I see you again? Tomorrow, after your interview. She looked at him, her eyes searching his face for something he wasn't sure he could give. I don't know, she said finally. I need to think. Caleb tugged at her hand. Mom, I'm tired. Okay, buddy, she said, ruffling his hair. She looked back at Ethan. Don't follow us in. Just give me time. Ethan nodded, his chest tight. I'll wait, he said. As long as it takes. She didn't smile, didn't nod, just turned and led Caleb inside. Ethan stood there, watching them disappear into the lobby, the weight of 10 years pressing down on him. He didn't know if Caleb was his, didn't know if Mia would ever forgive him, but for the first time in a decade, he felt something he hadn't, hope. The Philadelphia morning was crisp, the kind of autumn day that made the city feel alive with possibility. Ethan sat in a coffee shop across from Mia's hotel, nursing a black coffee, his eyes fixed on the entrance. He hadn't slept. The image of Caleb's blue eyes and Mia's guarded stare haunted him, replaying like a loop of code he couldn't debug. He'd canceled his Boston meeting, a move that would have shocked his board. Ethan Caldwell, the man who never missed a deal, was sitting in a diner, waiting for a woman he'd walked away from and a boy who might be his son. The uncertainty gnawed at him, but so did the need to make things right. Mia had asked for time, but Ethan wasn't good at waiting not anymore. His phone buzzed with emails from his team, but he ignored them. Instead, he pulled up an old photo on his phone, one he hadn't looked at in years, him and Mia in Chicago, laughing in a park, her head on his shoulder. He'd kept it buried in a cloud drive, a relic of a life he'd convinced himself he didn't deserve. Now, it felt like a lifeline. Across the street, the hotel doors swung open, and Mia stepped out, Caleb at her side. She wore a simple blazer and skirt, her hair pulled back, a portfolio under her arm ready for her interview. Caleb, in a hoodie and jeans, bounced on his toes, talking animatedly. Ethan's heart clenched. They were a team, a world he wasn't part of. Yet, he stood, leaving cash on the table, and crossed the street, keeping his distance. Mia spotted him as they reached the sidewalk, her expression shifting from surprise to exasperation. "Ethan," she said, her tone clipped. "What are you doing here?" "I said I'd wait," he replied, shoving his hands in his pockets to keep from fidgeting. "I meant it." Caleb looked up, curious. "Are you the guy from the train?" "Yeah," Ethan said, offering a small smile. "I'm Ethan." Caleb tilted his head, studying him. "You look like someone in my comics." Mia's eyes flicked to Ethan, a warning in them, but she didn't correct Caleb. "We're late," she said, taking Caleb's hand. "I'm dropping him at a friend's before the interview." "Can I walk with you?" Ethan asked, careful not to push too hard. Mia sighed but nodded. "Just don't make this weird." They walked through Philly streets, Caleb chatting about his comics hero named Blue Blaze who fought shadow monsters. Ethan listened, hanging on to every word, trying to piece together who this boy was. Mia stayed quiet, her focus on the path ahead, but Ethan caught her glancing at him, her expression unreadable. At a small row house, Mia's friend, a warm woman named Lena, greeted Caleb with a hug. "You be good." "Okay," Mia said, kissing his forehead. "I'm always good." Caleb grinned, then ran inside. Lena gave Ethan a curious look but didn't ask questions before closing the door. Now it was just Ethan and Mia, the air between them heavy with unspoken history. "You didn't have to come," she said, starting toward the gallery. "I wanted to," Ethan said. "I meant what I said last night. I want to make things right." Mia stopped, turning to face him. "Ethan, you can't just show up and expect everything to fall into place. I've spent 10 years building a life without you. Caleb doesn't know you. I don't know you anymore." Her words cut, but he nodded. "I get that. But I'm not the guy who left. I've changed. Mia, I want to prove it." She crossed her arms, studying him. "Why now? Why not 5 years ago? Or 2? "Because I was a coward," he admitted. "I thought I was protecting you by staying away. I thought you'd be better off without me." Mia's laugh was sharp. "You thought wrong." "I know," he said, meeting her gaze. "Let me make it up to you. To both of you." She didn't answer, just started walking again. Ethan followed, matching her pace. The gallery was a sleek, modern space in Center City, its windows showcasing vibrant paintings. Mia's shoulders straightened as they approached, a flicker of excitement in her eyes. "This is it," she said, more to herself than to him. "You'll kill it," Ethan said. "You always had an eye for art." She glanced at him, a ghost of a smile on her lips. "Thanks." As she stepped inside, Ethan lingered by the door. "I'll be here when you're done," he called. Mia paused, looking back. "Don't make promises you can't keep," she said, then disappeared into the gallery. Ethan found a bench nearby, settling in to wait. His mind raced, piecing together the fragments of Mia's life. She was a single mom, struggling but strong, chasing a dream she'd once shared with him. And Caleb, every instinct screamed that the boy was his. But Mia's silence kept him in the dark. He pulled out his phone, searching for her online, desperate for clues. Her social media was sparse, mostly pictures of Caleb's drawings or Philly street art. No mention of a father, no hint of another man. Just Mia and Caleb, against the world. Hours later, Mia emerged, Her face lit with cautious hope. How'd it go? Ethan asked. Standing. Good, she said, a real smile breaking through. They like my portfolio. I might actually get this. You will, Ethan said, his voice firm. You're incredible. Her smile faded, replaced by something softer, more vulnerable. Why are you doing this, Ethan? Really? He took a deep breath. Because seeing you yesterday was like waking up. I've spent 10 years running from what we had, and I'm done. I don't know if Caleb's mine, but I want to be part of his life. And yours, if you'll let me. Mia's eyes glistened, but she blinked the tears away. I need to pick up Caleb, she said, turning away. You can come, but don't push. They walked to Lena's in silence, the city buzzing around them. Caleb bounded out, his energy infectious. Mom, Lena let me draw a new Blue Blaze story, he said, waving a sketchbook. That's awesome, buddy, Mia said, ruffling his hair. She glanced at Ethan. You're still here. Told you I'd wait, he said. Caleb looked at him, curious. Are you Mom's friend? Ethan hesitated, glancing at Mia. I'd like to be, he said. Caleb nodded, accepting that for now. As they walked back to the hotel, Ethan felt a fragile thread forming, connecting him to this boy, this woman, this life he'd almost lost forever. He didn't know what came next, but for the first time, he wasn't running. Back at the hotel, Mia let Caleb lead the way to their room, his chatter about Blue Blaze filling the silence. Ethan followed, carrying the weight of her earlier words, don't push. He wanted to. They wanted to ask about Caleb's father, about the years he'd missed, about the pain he'd caused. But Mia's guarded glances told him to tread carefully, so he focused on Caleb, who was explaining his comic's latest plot twist with wild gestures. You should see it, Caleb said, turning to Ethan. Blue Blaze fights a dragon made of shadows. Sounds epic, Ethan said, grinning. Can I see it? Caleb hesitated, looking at Mia for permission. She nodded, and he dug into his backpack, pulling out a worn sketchbook. The pages were filled with vibrant drawings, each panel bursting with imagination. Ethan flipped through them, marveling at the skill of a 10-year-old. You're good, he said, meaning it. Like your mom. Caleb beamed, but Mia's expression stayed neutral. He's better than I was at his age, she said, sitting on the edge of the bed. He's got a real gift. Ethan handed the sketchbook back, his fingers brushing Caleb's. The boy didn't pull away, just looked at him with those unervingly familiar eyes. You draw too? Caleb asked. Nah, Ethan said. I'm more of a numbers guy. I build things with code. Like video games. Caleb's eyes lit up. Kind of, Ethan said, chuckling. But not as cool as your comics. Mia watched the exchange, her face unreadable. Ethan could feel her sizing him up, weighing every word. He wanted to ask her to dinner, to extend this fragile moment. But Caleb yawned, breaking the spell. Time for bed, buddy, Mia said, standing. Big day tomorrow. Caleb groaned but obeyed, climbing into bed with his sketchbook. Mia tucked him in, her movements tender but efficient. Ethan lingered by the door, unsure of his place. I'll let you get some rest, he said. Mia walked him to the door, her voice low. Thanks for today? For not pushing. I'm trying, he said, meeting her gaze. Can I see you tomorrow? Maybe take Caleb for ice cream or something. She hesitated, then nodded. Maybe. I'll text you. Ethan handed her his card, his personal number scrawled on the back. I'm staying at the Ritz. Call me anytime. Mia took the card, her fingers brushing his. Good night, Ethan. Back at his hotel, Ethan couldn't sleep. He paced his suite, the city skyline glittering through the windows, a reminder of the life he'd built. It felt hollow now, compared to the warmth of Mia's presence. Caleb's laugh. He opened his laptop, diving into work to distract himself, but his mind kept drifting to the boys' sketches, Mia's guarded smiles. The next morning, his phone buzzed with a text from Mia, ice cream at 2. Franklin Square. Don't be late. Ethan's heart leapt. He spent the morning canceling meetings, clearing his schedule. By 1:30, he was at the park, nerves jangling like loose code. Mia and Caleb arrived, Caleb clutching a soccer ball. You play? He asked Ethan, kicking the ball lightly. Not since college, Ethan admitted. But I'm game. They kicked the ball around, Caleb's laughter echoing through the park. Mia watched from a bench, her portfolio beside her, her eyes softer than before. Ethan felt a spark of hope, but he kept his focus on Caleb, dodging his surprisingly good kicks. After, they grabbed ice cream from a nearby vendor, Caleb choosing mint chocolate chip, Mia vanilla, Ethan coffee. They sat on a bench, the autumn sun warm on their faces. Caleb slurped his cone, then looked at Ethan. Why do you keep looking at me funny? Ethan froze, ice cream dripping onto his hand. Mia tensed, but Ethan laughed softly. You remind me of someone, he said. A good someone. Caleb shrugged, satisfied, and ran off to chase pigeons. Mia turned to Ethan, her voice low. You're good with him. He's easy to like, Ethan said. Like his mom. Mia's cheeks flushed, but she didn't look away. You're different, she said. Not the Ethan I knew. I hope that's a good thing, he said. She didn't answer, just watch Caleb play. Ethan took a chance. Mia, I need to know about him. About us. I'm not asking to hurt you. I can't stop wondering. Her jaw tightened, but she nodded. Not here, she said. Tonight, after he's asleep. Come to the hotel. We'll talk. Ethan's pulse raced, but he nodded. I'll be there. That night, he knocked on her hotel door, his heart in his throat. Mia answered, her hair loose, her eyes tired but clear. Caleb was asleep in the next room. The door cracked open. She gestured to a small table, where 2 cups of coffee sat steaming. Sit, she said, and listen. Ethan sat, his hands clasped to keep them still. Mia took a deep breath, her voice steady but heavy. After you left, I was a mess. I loved you, Ethan, and you broke me. But I moved on. Got pregnant a year later. Caleb's father, he wasn't you. The words hit like a freight train. Ethan's hope flickered, but he forced himself to listen. Who was he? He asked. Doesn't matter, Mia said. He's not in our lives. Never was. Really. I raised Caleb alone. Ethan nodded, processing. But his eyes, they're mine. Mia's gaze softened, just for a moment. I noticed that too, when he was born. It's why I never forgot you, even when I wanted to. Ethan's throat tightened. Mia, I'm so sorry. For leaving. For everything. She looked away, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. I don't know if I can forgive you, she said. But I see you with Caleb, and I think, maybe you're not the man who left. I'm not, Ethan said, leaning forward. Let me prove it. Let me be part of your lives, even if it's just as a friend. Mia met his eyes, searching. I don't know what that looks like yet, she said, but I'm willing to find out. For Caleb's sake. It wasn't a promise, but it was enough. Ethan nodded. a weight lifting, even as new questions formed. As he left that night, the city lights felt brighter, the future less certain but filled with possibility. The next few days in Philadelphia were a delicate dance. Ethan met Mia and Caleb daily, small moments weaving them closer: a trip to the zoo, a museum visit, Caleb's endless questions about Ethan's work. Each laugh, each shared glance with Mia, felt like a step toward redemption. But the shadow of their past lingered. Mia remained cautious, her trust a fragile thing, and Ethan respected her boundaries, even as his heart screamed for answers about Caleb. One afternoon, at the Philly Zoo, Caleb ran ahead to the lion exhibit, his sketchbook tucked under his arm. Ethan and Mia trailed behind, the air crisp with fall. "He's fearless," Ethan said, watching Caleb mimic a lion's roar. "He gets that from me," Mia said, a wry smile tugging at her lips. "You were always the cautious one." Ethan chuckled, surprised by the warmth in her tone. "Maybe. But I'm trying to be brave now." Mia's smile faded, her eyes searching his. "Brave's not enough. Ethan, you hurt me. I need to know you won't hurt him." "I won't," he said, his voice fierce. "I swear it." She nodded, but doubt lingered in her gaze. They walked in silence, watching Caleb sketch the lions, his pencil flying across the page. Ethan wanted to ask about Caleb's father again, to understand why Mia deflected, but he held back. She'd promised answers, and he had to trust her timing. That evening, Mia got a call from the gallery. Her face lit up as she hung up. "I got the job," she said, almost disbelieving. Caleb whooped, hugging her, and Ethan felt a surge of pride. "Congratulations," he said, grinning. "You deserve it." "Thanks," she said, her eyes meeting his. "We're staying in Philly. This is home now." The words were a quiet invitation, a crack in her armor. Ethan seized it. "Let me take you both to dinner. To celebrate." Mia hesitated, then nodded. "Okay. Somewhere kid-friendly." They ended up at a pizzeria, Caleb devouring slices while drawing in his sketchbook. Ethan watched Mia laugh at Caleb's antics, her guard lowering with each shared moment. After dinner, as they walked back to the hotel, Caleb slipped his hand into Ethan's, a small gesture that nearly undid him. "You're cool," Caleb said, looking up. "Are you staying?" Ethan glanced at Mia, who was watching them closely. "I'd like to," he said carefully, "if it's okay with your mom." Caleb turned to Mia, hopeful. She sighed, ruffling his hair. "We'll see, buddy." Back at the hotel, after Caleb was asleep, Mia invited Ethan to stay for coffee again. They sat in the quiet, the weight of their history settling between them. "You're good with him," she said. "Better than I expected." "He's easy to love," Ethan said, his voice thick. "Like you." Mia's eyes softened, but she shook her head. "Don't, Ethan. Not yet." "I know," he said, leaning back. "But I'm not going anywhere this time." She studied him, then nodded. "I'm starting to believe that." The next day, Ethan took them to the art museum, Caleb racing up the famous rocky steps while Mia laughed. Ethan felt like he was seeing her for the first time in years, free, happy, the woman he'd fallen for. But as they wandered the galleries, Mia's phone buzzed with a text that made her face fall. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked. "It's nothing," she said, but her voice was tight. "Just someone from my past." Ethan's gut twisted. Caleb's father. Mia's silence was answer enough. She pocketed her phone, her expression closing off. "I don't want to talk about it." "Mia," Ethan said, keeping his voice low so Caleb wouldn't hear. "If he's reaching out, I need to know. For Caleb's sake. She glared at him, but the fight drained from her. He's not a threat, she said. He's just persistent. He left when Caleb was a baby. Shows up every few years. Makes promises. Then disappears. Ethan's fists clenched. Does Caleb know him? No, Mia said firmly. And he won't. I protect my son. Ethan nodded, relief mixing with anger. If he's trouble, I can help. I have resources. Mia's laugh was bitter. Money doesn't fix everything. Ethan. I know, he said. But I want to help. However you need. She looked at him, her eyes softening. I'll handle it. But, thanks. That night, Ethan lay awake in his hotel, replaying Mia's words. Caleb wasn't his. Not biologically, but the bond he felt was real. He wanted to be there, to protect them both, whether Mia let him in or not. The next morning, he woke to a text from her, meet us at the park. Caleb wants to show you something. At the park, Caleb ran up, holding a new comic. It's Blue Blaze versus the Shadow King, he said, thrusting it at Ethan. The hero, drawn with Caleb's fierce lines, had blue eyes and a familiar jaw. Ethan's heart swelled. This is amazing, he said, ruffling Caleb's hair. Mia watched, a small smile playing on her lips. As they played, Ethan felt the pieces of his life shifting, aligning into something new. He didn't have all the answers, but he had this moment, and he wasn't letting it go. The days in Philly stretched into a week, each one pulling Ethan deeper into Mia and Caleb's world. He'd extended his stay, working remotely from his hotel, his team baffled but compliant. Mia's new job at the gallery kept her busy, but she let Ethan spend time with Caleb Park visits, comic shop trips, moments that felt like family, even if unspoken. One evening, at a small diner, Caleb was coloring while Mia and Ethan shared a booth. The air felt lighter, her smiles coming easier. You're sticking around, she said, stirring her coffee. Didn't expect that. Neither did I, Ethan admitted. But I can't walk away. Not again. Mia's eyes held his, a flicker of trust there. Caleb likes you, she said. That's a big deal. Ethan glanced at Caleb, who was drawing a new villain. He's a big deal, he said. So are you. She blushed, looking away. You're making this hard. Good, Ethan said, half teasing. I want to. But the ease shattered when Mia's phone buzzed again. Her face tightened as she read the text, her fingers gripping the phone. Ethan leaned forward. Him again. Mia nodded, her voice low. He wants to see Caleb. Says he's changed. Ethan's jaw clenched. Has he? No, she said, her tone final. He never does. Let me help, Ethan said. I can get a lawyer. Keep him away. Mia shook her head. I don't need your money, Ethan. I need. She trailed off, her eyes glistening. I need to know Caleb's safe. He will be, Ethan said, his voice fierce. I promise. She studied him, then nodded. Okay. But I handle it my way. The next day, Ethan joined them for a street festival, Caleb dragging him to every booth, his energy infectious. Mia laughed more, her guard slipping, and Ethan felt a spark of what they'd had in Chicago. But as they watched Caleb play a carnival game, a man approached tall, disheveled, with a forced smile. Mia froze. Jake, she said, her voice cold. Mia, he said, his eyes flicking to Caleb. Then Ethan. Who's this? Ethan stepped forward, protective. A friend. You. Jake's smile faltered. I'm Caleb's dad. The words hit Ethan like a punch, even though he'd known. Caleb looked up, confused, and Mia pulled him close. You don't get to say that, she said to Jake. You left. I'm here now, Jake said, his tone pleading. I want to know him. Mia's eyes blazed. You don't get to waltz in after 10 years. Walk away, Jake. Ethan stood beside her, silent but ready. Jake's gaze darted between them. Then he backed off, muttering, This isn't over. As he disappeared into the crowd, Mia's shoulders sagged. Caleb clung to her, quiet. Ethan knelt beside him. You okay, buddy? Caleb nodded, but his eyes were wide. Is that guy really my dad? Mia knelt too, her voice soft. He was. A long time ago. But I'm your family. Always. Caleb hugged her, and Ethan felt a fierce need to protect them both. Later, at the hotel, Mia told him more. Jake had been a fling, a mistake after Ethan left. He'd vanished when she got pregnant, only resurfacing now, claiming redemption. He won't hurt you, Ethan said. I'll make sure of it. Mia looked at him, her eyes raw. I don't need saving, Ethan. But I'm glad you're here. He reached for her hand, and she let him hold it, just for a moment. It was enough. Ethan woke to a text from Mia, Jake's at the gallery. I need you. He was out the door in minutes, heart racing as he hailed a cab to Center City. The gallery was quiet, its glass walls reflecting the morning sun. But inside, tension crackled. Mia stood by a painting, her arms crossed, facing Jake, who looked desperate but defiant. Ethan stepped inside, catching Mia's eye. She nodded, relief flickering across her face. Caleb was at school, safe, but Jake's presence felt like a storm cloud. What's going on? Ethan asked, keeping his voice calm. He wants to see Caleb, Mia said, her tone steady but strained. I told him no. Jake turned to Ethan, sizing him up. You her new guy? This doesn't concern you. It does, Ethan said, stepping closer. You're upsetting her. Leave. Jake's eyes narrowed, but Mia cut in. Jake, I meant what I said. You don't get to come back now. I have rights, Jake said, his voice rising. He's my kid. Ethan's fists clenched, but Mia's hand on his arm stopped him. You gave up those rights when you walked away, she said. I've got a lawyer. Don't push me. Jake hesitated, then stormed out, muttering threats. Mia exhaled, her hands shaking. Ethan pulled her into a hug, surprising them both. She didn't pull away, her breath warm against his chest. Thank you, she whispered. Always, he said, meaning it. They spent the day together, picking up Caleb from school, taking him to a bookstore. Caleb sensed the tension but didn't ask, instead showing Ethan his new comic ideas. Ethan listened, his heart full, but Jake's shadow lingered. That night, Mia invited Ethan to their apartment, a small but cozy space filled with Caleb's drawings. Over dinner, Mia opened up. I'm scared, she admitted. Jake's never fought for Caleb before. I don't know what he wants. Ethan reached across the table, his hand covering hers. You're not alone anymore. Whatever happens, I'm here. Mia's eyes searched his, and for the first time, she didn't look away. I want to believe you, she said. I'm trying. Caleb bounded in, breaking the moment, and they spent the evening playing board games, laughter filling the room. As Ethan left, Mia walked him to the door. Stay tomorrow, she said. Caleb's got a school art show. He wants you there. Ethan's heart soared. I wouldn't miss it. The art show was a burst of color, Caleb's drawings displayed proudly. He beamed as Ethan praised his work, and Mia's smile was unguarded. But as they left, Ethan spotted Jake across the street, watching. His blood ran cold. "Mia?" he said, nodding toward Jake. She tensed, pulling Caleb close. "Let's go," she said, her voice firm. Back at the apartment, Mia called her lawyer, her voice steady as she outlined Jake's actions. Ethan stayed, playing cards with Caleb to keep him distracted. When Caleb was asleep, Mia sat with Ethan, her face pale. "I'm filing a restraining order," she said. "This ends now." Ethan nodded, his resolve hardening. "Whatever you need, I've got you." She looked at him, her eyes soft. "You're really here, aren't you?" "For good," he said. She leaned forward, her lips brushing his tentative, fleeting kiss that felt like a promise. "We'll see," she whispered, but her smile gave him hope. The restraining order went through, but Jake's shadow lingered, a reminder of the fragility of Mia's world. Ethan threw himself into supporting her, helping with Caleb's school events, showing up for Mia's late nights at the gallery. Each moment felt like a brick in a new foundation. But the question of Caleb's paternity hung unspoken, a thread neither was ready to pull. One Saturday, Ethan took Caleb to a comic convention, Mia joining them after work. Caleb's eyes lit up at the booths, his sketchbook filling with new ideas. Ethan watched Mia laugh, her hand brushing his as they walked, and felt a warmth he hadn't known in years. They were a trio, not quite a family, but something close. At the convention, Caleb ran to a superhero cosplayer, leaving Ethan and Mia alone. She looked at him, her eyes soft. "You're good for him," she said. "I didn't expect that." "I want to be good for both of you," Ethan said. "Mia, I love you. I never stopped." Her breath caught, but she didn't pull away. "I loved you too," she said. "But love wasn't enough then. I need more now." "Name it," Ethan said. "Anything." "Time," she said. "And truth." He nodded, understanding. "I'll give you both." That night, after Caleb was asleep, Mia sat Ethan down. "Caleb's not yours," she said, her voice steady. "I had a test done years ago. Jake's his father, biologically. But you're becoming something to him. To me." Ethan's heart sank, then lifted. Caleb wasn't his by blood, but the bond was real. "I don't care about biology," he said. "I want to be there. For him. For you." Mia's eyes glistened. "I'm starting to believe you." Months passed, Ethan splitting time between Philly and New York, his life reshaping around Mia and Caleb. Jake faded, the restraining order holding, and Mia's confidence grew. One evening, at her apartment, Caleb showed Ethan a new comic hero named Blaze Dad, with blue eyes and a familiar smile. "Is that me?" Ethan asked, his voice thick. Caleb grinned. "Maybe." Mia laughed, her hand finding Ethan's. "You're in," she said. "For real." Ethan pulled her close, Caleb joining the hug. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, Ethan wasn't running. He'd found his home, not in a penthouse, but in the laughter of a boy who called him Blaze Dad and the woman who'd always held his heart.